I'd like to call to order our special city council meeting. Date is January 31st. The time is 5:32 p.m. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Ronnie Felder, Chairperson Douglas Lawson,
Here.
Chairperson Shirley Lanier, Councilperson Chadwick McCoy, Councilperson Kashamba Miller Anderson,
Present.
Councilperson Julia Botel,
Here.
City Manager Jonathan Evans, Acting City Clerk Deborah Hall McCullough is present, City Attorney Don Nguyen.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum. You may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. If we can have a moment of silence, followed by a pledge of allegiance, led by Kashamba Miller Anderson.
Mr. Chair, please let the record reflect that Mayor Ronnie Felder
I'm sorry,
is
it's hard to hear
present.
you, Ms. Hall.
Please let the record reflect that Mayor Ronnie Felder is present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Welcome, Mayor Felder. With no consent items, we're going to go straight into our regular agenda. I'm sorry, we're going to have to do an adoption of agenda. Do we have any additions, deletions, or substitutions?
No.
None from staff, Mr. Chair.
Disclosures? Motion to adopt agenda?
So moved. Second.
Motion been made and properly seconded. Madam Clerk?
Councilperson Botel, Councilperson Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Lanier,
Yes.
Chairperson Lawson,
Yes.
unanimous vote.
Thank you. With no consent agenda, we're going to go straight into the regular agenda, discussion and deliberation. Madam Clerk?
Discussion and deliberation, item 12A, safety and security concerns.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
You're welcome.
Ms. Evans?
Madam Chair, members of the board, this particular meeting was called by a member of the city council. The individual that put forth the meeting request is the vice chair, councilperson Shirley Lanier. And so at this time.
One second, Ms. Evans. Excuse me, residents, if we can just keep it down, the noise does travel, so if we can't keep it down up there so that we can't hear. Thank you. And if we can't keep that door closed. Ms. Evans, go ahead.
Again, Mr. Chair, this particular meeting was scheduled at the request of members of the city council. City council person Shirley Lanier facilitated the notice for this particular meeting. So it would be staff's recommendation that the presentation is turned over to councilperson Lanier.
Thank you, Pro Tem Lanier. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair,
Ms.
can
Miller
we
Anderson?
get, can we get Walter to turn up the mics or something? Because I really can't hear others that are talking very much. Walter, if you're able to cut the mics up maybe? Or the volume?
Thank you, Walter. While we're turning that up, Pro Tem Lanier, if you want to go ahead and take over.
In November of 1978, in San Francisco, California, a former board member, Dan White, stormed into government offices and killed Mayor George Moscone and board member Harvey Milk. Dan White, angered over an appointment to the board, entered City Hall and first shot and killed Moscone in the mayor's office, and then shot and killed Harry Milk, who was then in Dan White's old office. I say this because of the escalation of Councilman McCoy's behavior, and that is why I called this meeting. In November of 2021, during a meeting with other council members, Councilman McCoy began verbally attacking me, telling me to shut the F up. According to the police reports that I filed, quote, Lanier describes McCoy as being loud and aggressive. McCoy continued saying, shut the F up, do not say one more word. When she continued to tell McCoy that you're not talking to me that way, he stated, what the F are you going to do? What are you going to do? Shut up. Further in the report, it states, quote, Lanier stated that she was in fear of McCoy after that exchange. Lanier stated that she knew McCoy carries a gun and wasn't sure if he would shoot her. Lanier truly believes if they were alone, that he would have harmed her. Lanier stated that she did not feel safe around McCoy and didn't think it was over. In March of 2022, Councilman McCoy crashed my victory party doing donuts in his car and shouting and cursing in the parking lot of a local small Black business. When I filed a report regarding the incident, the officer that took the report wrote, quote, I explained to Mr. McCoy that this incident would be documented, and Mr. McCoy became upset that there would be a report. I explained to him that Ms. Lanier was a citizen of Riviera Beach, and she wanted the incident to be documented. Mr. McCoy made a comment to me that he would, quote, run through this place like diarrhea, end quote, which appeared to be in response to me stating that it would be a report. Mr. McCoy stated that I had no confirmation that I was even speaking to Mr. McCoy. There are videos to corroborate this report. In June of 2022, I made another police report, because Councilman McCoy verbally assaulted me, and at that point, I was very fearful of him. According to the police report, quote, Shirley Lanier explained McCoy's voice was frightening and his vibe was off. Lanier also explained she is afraid of McCoy, end quote. There have been other instances, where Mr. McCoy has aggressively harassed and downright being frightening to myself, to my colleagues, and to the public. There are 19 instances of city employees filing formal complaints for harassment against Mr. McCoy. There have been 4 separate incidents with police reports just by myself, and has left me in a position where I have no other course of action but to ask my colleagues to come to a decision about Mr. McCoy's behavior. I have stated this publicly at least 3 times regarding my fear of Mr. McCoy. We received information today regarding other employees that have been harassed by Mr. McCoy. Public money has been spent on defending these complaints against Mr. McCoy. Even residents have called and complained, and even written reports, police reports against Mr. McCoy. I am imploring my colleagues tonight to come to a decision, because I am truly afraid of Councilman McCoy. What needs to happen for this board to take action? Someone harmed or someone killed? And in light of the latest incident that happened last Wednesday night, something has to be done. I want all of this information to be sent to the Commission on Ethics and to the governor. And if any of my colleagues want to talk about their experiences with Mr. McCoy, they can. But I wanted to make sure that the 4 police reports and the harassment that he has done with me is documented. I have said this, as I said before, 3 times in public, that I was afraid of Mr. McCoy. Mr. McCoy used to bring a gun to the council chambers until he was stopped. We had to get metal detectors where the council comes in because of him bringing guns to this forum. So I certainly want something to happen. And what I want to happen is this to go to the Commission on Ethics and for it to go to the governor's office. This has got to stop. The harassment of 19 employees, the harassment of public officials, the harassment of residents. There are residents sitting in this audience right now that he has harassed. He has verbally and almost physically confronted employees at the city. There's video of that as well. So at this point, I don't know what else to do other than to say to my colleagues that something has to be done tonight. Because I do not want the same thing to happen in this particular forum as it happened in California. There are blind spots in this arena. I do not want that to happen to me or my colleagues or to the public. And this has to stop right now. There is no way that I should be afraid to come to a meeting. No way that I should sit here and be afraid because if I say something that he might get upset with, he might just go off on me and then harass me outside of the doggone parking lot. So no, something has to stop, and I want to make sure that my colleagues understand my statement tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Pro Tem. Any additional comments from the board?
Mr. Chair, go ahead.
Councilman Botel, go ahead.
I want to speak in support of what Councilwoman Lanier just said. I am afraid as well, and I've expressed that fear in the past at this.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Councilwoman Botel. Walter, if you can check the volume up here, we cannot hear. Ms. Miller Anderson just said that she cannot hear. I cannot hear, so that we can all hear all of our colleagues, please, Walter. Go ahead, Councilwoman Botel. I'm sorry.
Thank you. I think what happened on Wednesday night, I wasn't here. I couldn't be here that night, but it was shocking. And I agree something has to be done.
Go ahead, Ms. Miller Anderson.
So, you know, the sentiments that Ms. Lanier just stated, we've all been very well aware of it in terms of what has happened, you know, with incidents with council that has happened during the meetings. And, you know, because I, I can't knowingly know something and don't do anything about it. However, there was a list of people in all of these situations that occurred. I was not fully aware of all of this happening. But, you know, I have never had a personal experience, negative personal experience with Mr. McCoy, but I have certainly witnessed some. And the incident that occurred during our closed executive session with Mr. McCoy and Ms. Lanier, um, Dr. Botel and I had to step in between the two. And it was not, everything she just said is exactly how it went. And I've never experienced that at a professional location where I'm working at, that I have to witness that type of language and just aggression. Um, then there was an incident, from my understanding, at the parade where Dr. Botel was, and she didn't go into it, and it's not my story to tell, but she can share it if she needs to. But just a number of incidents that have occurred, and when the situation occurred last week, for me, it just appears that it's escalating. And I know when we talked about putting these metal detectors out there, we needed to have them there because there were serious concerns, um, you know, of people being harmed. And looking through the documents, the public records that were provided in terms of the number of complaints, whether they've been formal complaints, some of them have been formal complaints, some of them have been informal complaints. I believe we've had up to maybe $35,000, I believe, that has been spent thus far just on investigations um, from some of these complaints that have been made. There was another instance in Tallahassee that a situation was communicated, and several of us were witness to that as well. So, you know, my conscience, and I just don't like the way that it's moving in a very dangerous direction. You know, the first couple of times you say, okay, you know, people get, you know, a little emotional or passionate is what a lot of people like to use the word. But there's a very fine line in being passionate and being overly aggressive and hostile. And Mayor, I know that there's an investigation that you're conducting regarding some sort of, I don't know, hostile work environment. But I certainly want, and I shared this with you already, is that when you do your investigations, unfortunately, the employees that Ms. Lanier referenced have had those same instances you will probably find with the council member. So, you know, and that's another thing, you know, we if we're going to do it, we have to make sure we reference, you know, everyone and everybody that's involved. And it's just, we cannot just sit here and act like nothing has happened. Like I said, we may not have known because we're not up there every day like that to know, and we shouldn't because we're not responsible for the day-to-day operations. That's the manager's job. But there have been a number of instances that we may or may not have been aware of, and until today, getting the information here that outlines all of the testimonies and just, you know, all of the complaints that have been made. A lot of it's verbal abuse, intimidation. It's a lot that people should not have to come to work and deal with. that is certainly not an environment that I want to work in either. And so, I certainly will support whatever my colleagues, the direction they want to move in terms of ensuring that we have a safe environment for us here on the dais, as well as for our employees and our residents, because this is it's a job. No one is I'm not getting ready to get hurt over a job, because I know people will place somebody else in my seat with a heartbeat. Just as the same as I say when I go to my day job at a school. They will post your job very quickly if something happened to you. Think you are indispensable if you want to. You're not. So I take this position very seriously, but I can't come here not knowing if something is going to happen. And as I said earlier, Mr. McCoy and I have not had any negative interactions, but I have witnessed others be a part of that. And it's very concerning, So I certainly can support what my colleagues are trying to do here.
Thank you, Councilwoman Millington. Mayor Felder, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I kind of want to address Councilwoman Miller Anderson about my investigation is solely, I don't have the authority to investigate a city council member. Charter states I'm investigating some issues that employees was having. So this is an internal investigation for staff, and I made it clear the charter does not give me the right to investigate in the official. Being that I'm not a voting member, that has to take place from you guys. And so it's two different, separate things. I just wanted to clear that up. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Mrs. Millington, go ahead.
Yes, I do recognize none of us have the power to do anything to any other elected official. But my point in saying is when you are doing your investigation within the departments, if you're having employees that have shared their experience with the hostile work environment, whether it's from a council person or not, that still probably needs to be documented because the employee in that department has experienced that. I know you can't enforce anything on the elected official, but that would be where what Ms. Lanier just stated in terms of reaching out to Commissioner on Ethics or the governor to report whatever it is that has been reported by those employees.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
And I haven't seen the email. I know some public records was asked for. So the 19 individuals, I think, has already taken the step to whatever procedure they needed to do to make that known. And so I just wanted to clear it up that my investigation is not against Mr. McCoy, City Council. It's a whole different investigation. So I think those 19 individuals have done what they needed to do to file those reports.
Thank you, Mayor. Additional comments from the board?
Yes, I wanted to say to the mayor that if he's investigating in a hostile work environment, those 19 employees would like to speak with him. Because what is happening is that I'm not going to be gaslighted to make me feel like this is not a big deal, because it is. When I read that first statement about the council person came in and shot the mayor and the other council person dead, and we know Mr. McCoy carries a gun, no, I will not be gaslighted to think that this is something that is simple and can go away, because this has been happening since 2021.
Mr. Chair?
Mayor, go ahead.
And exactly, it's been, as you stated, it's been happening since 2021. So this is you guys' first step, knowing from 2021 this has been happening. I don't want to, the employees that came to me had nothing to do with any council member. So I don't want, it's two separate things. All right, you guys are doing what you needed to do. So, my investigation didn't start with 19 employees coming to me saying anything about elected officials. All right, so it's two separate things, and I'm not going to be brought into the employees that want to speak to me about a hostile work environment that's going on in their day-to-day. We're not going to mix those two up. That's all I'm saying. But you guys are taking the steps, like you say, from 2021. If you know this was happening, it's 2024 now, and you're just now taking the steps.
Mr. Chair.
Pro Tem, go ahead.
I just like to say that actually it was 2019 that happened. And I'm hoping that the mayor supports this because he is the mayor of this city. And if his colleagues are being threatened and physically accosted, then something has to be done about it. Where a council person had to go to the hospital? No. You cannot make this go away. Something has to be done, and it has to be done tonight. 2019, when this started happening, my first thought was, okay, this is a black city. These black council people, I don't want to put that out there like that. I don't want this to be an embarrassment to the city. But what happens is that when you are physically confronted and you know that this has been going on, and not just with you, but with numerous employees and my colleagues. So no, I will not. I'm hoping the mayor would support this going to the Commission on Ethics, and the mayor would support this going to the governor's office, because the sheer number of reports that we received today from employees that have made complaints against Councilman McCoy is something that needs to be heard.
Additional comments from the board? Well, tonight's comments, being that it's titled Safety and Security, and I didn't know the exact direction of where we were going, my concerns are based on safety and security. Mr. Evans, last week, who was responsible for security of police for this council meeting that we held?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Please.
What has been our standard customary policy is that law enforcement is coordinated by the office of the city clerk, but we had abrupt transition in that particular office. And so the clerk was not aware of the system that is utilized for the purposes of any special meeting. All the other meetings are put in the calendar and are facilitated with the police department. So if it is, whether it's a city council or a CRA meeting, those meetings are routinely set. When those off meetings occur, then there's a manual process, and there has been conversations with the acting city clerk, and she's aware of that particular role and responsibility. But since the abrupt transition, that was one of the things that was not resolved. There was security, but there was not law enforcement that was on site.
Okay. And every meeting, I do believe that there's law enforcement. I believe that my colleagues are looking for that law enforcement as security and protection for the council, for the residents, and for everyone here. That brief interruption or that short turnover caused for us not to have security on the night where an incident occurs. That's not acceptable. My concerns and my safety are for my colleagues, for my residents, and for the entire community. And I think that that simple lapse in judgment and ability to actually make sure that you provided a safe work environment was one of the major concerns. My colleagues have addressed other concerns and sentiments about a colleague of mine, and there's a open investigation which will refrain me from saying anything in reference to my colleague. But what I will say is that we have major issues with the city that makes it a passionate work environment. That doesn't excuse actions of anyone. But Mr. Evans, the mistakes that are made by our staff affect our entire community, including every single person up here. So discussions of utility district, of there being fecal matter in the water, of us not having police in a closed session meeting, in an open session meeting, the fact that we're still pending final negotiations with our union, police and fire. I think it's time that we kind of focus on making sure that we're intentional about our decisions. Residents, we have to kind of tell our own narrative and not let everyone else tell our narrative. I advocated for a full-time marketing PR department to oversee the direction of what's being told in the city. That, of course, did not go through because at the time, Mr. Evans and staff did not want to proceed with that. I've advocated for certain policies to go through in the city. Number one priority is to focus on the city. It's not about me, it's not about these colleagues, it's about our residents. So with that intent, Mr. Evans, I think we need to be very intentional with our decisions. That lapse in judgment last week was completely unacceptable. And I think it's time for us to kind of focus on giving you clear direction. I don't think that I can continue to support you taking the role of overseeing all the different departments of our city, because I do not believe that we're going to be in a safe work environment with you having and handling all of these responsibilities. I think it's time we separate some of these roles, and we should be focused on allowing for us to bring in a full-time CRA director. Right now, I think that Mr. Evans needs to focus, and he needs to focus on the bonds that are coming out. He needs to focus on the development of the city and the growth. The issues that we're speaking about, safety and security, I want to feel safe. So to feel safe, I need you focused on what needs to be done with the city, because our CRA, to still have some of the same discussions that we've been waiting on, I can't continue. So colleagues, I know that there's certain concerns, and I wasn't clearly sure of what the direction of tonight's meeting was, but thank you, Councilwoman Lanier, for being strong with your sentiments and your feelings and standing strong on the record. Again, I'm not going to speak on the incident because there is an open investigation happening, but what I will speak on is what we need to do as a city and be responsible for these needs. So
Chair?
if we, 1 minute, Pro Tem.
Okay.
If we can discuss some of the concerns that we can control. That's one issue, that's one concern. But I also do believe that I want to feel safe, Ms. Evans. And that was a major misstep by yourself. I don't care who or what department or who's going to get the finger pointed at. I can only hire and fire one person. That's you and Attorney Wynn. So that makes it 2. So as of right now, I would prefer that we focus on the direction of allowing for Mr. Evans to remain as our city manager and look for somebody to focus full-time on our CRA so that Mr. Evans can be focused on the things that's needed within the city. Pro Tem Lanier, go ahead.
Yes, with all due respect, Mr. Chair, I call this meeting because of the issues that have happened with me and employees and the public. As the mayor said, he does not want to convolute the 2 issues. There is one issue on the table here, and that issue is the harassment, in your case, physical assault of Mr. McCoy. So we know we have these other issues. That goes without question. But this meeting was called for one particular purpose, and it was to make sure that this information is sent to the Commission on Ethics and it is sent to the governor's office. And I'm not about to get into other stuff when this is the issue, and you can't brush this aside. Wait, hold on a second. I'm not
Of course,
finished.
Pro Tem, go ahead.
I mean, I can't. I mean, you're bringing up all of these other issues, and we should have special meeting for those too. But right now, this is about Councilman McCoy and about what has happened to me, to 19 employees, to various residents, to council members on this board. That is what we're here for tonight. And I agree with you in those other issues. But for tonight, these are the issues. This is the issue that is most important. The safety of this room, the safety of the residents, the safety of the people sitting up here, of the employees. That is what's important. How can we deal with issues when we have to be concerned about somebody coming in here with a gun, or concerned about somebody going to aggressively or physically assault you? How can you even focus? You can't, because you are afraid that this guy's going to have a blow up and you're next. So I just want to be clear about what I call this meeting for here tonight. And as you said before, I agree with those other issues, but this is what it's about.
And I respect and I appreciate that, Pro Tem Lanier, but all I saw at the backup was safety and security. I'm not going to comment on McCoy because I said I can't at the moment.
Right.
But to that point, safety and my security is who's overseeing it. He will be addressed. Councilman McCoy and the issues and concerns will be addressed accordingly. So to that point, if my colleagues have a motion or a decision or direction that they want to proceed, then we can go in that direction.
Yes, I have a motion As I said before, I'm requesting that all of these documents, from the boatload that came from employees, from the ones that have been made by the public, from the ones that have been made by this board, to be sent to the Commission on Ethics and to be sent to Governor DeSantis, to either suspend or remove him from this dais. I will no longer be in fear coming to work and afraid something's going to happen to me. So that is my motion.
We have a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion has been made and properly seconded. Madam Clerk, we do have this listed as a discussion and deliberation. If we want to accept public comment cards, being that a motion was made on the table, I will accept public comment cards for this item. So we will give time for our residents if they want to address this while we continue with discussion and deliberation about this item.
So if you would like to submit a comment card for item 12A, please mark that on your comment card at this time and submit it to the clerk's office, please.
Colleagues, while cards are being turned in, we can continue with discussion if anyone wants to make any additional comments.
Are we having, sorry, Chair, are we having public comment?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And these comments, residents, are going to just be for this item. We will have general public comment after this. Madam Clerk, if you want to go ahead and start calling public comments.
Okay, so first we will have Lady Goldwire for item 12A. Marvelous Washington.
Marvelous. Yeah.
Good evening, board, councilperson, city manager, city attorney. I totally agree. The meetings need to be more secure. There should be policies in place. But what you're discussing and what was in the back of the agenda is not the same. If you were talking about filing an ethics complaint against Ms. Councilperson McCoy, that should have been included in the backup so that we know what we're attending the meeting for. So that Mr. McCoy, if he wanted to attend, maybe he wanted to attend and speak out on his behalf. One thing I have an issue with, and what I've learned since the start of this meeting is, there needs to be policies and procedures in place. And unfortunately, City Manager Evans, I'm a little disgusted at the fact that you decided to blame an employee for your misfortune, for your misjudgment, for you not having proper security for a special meeting. I have concerns about that. because that has been the common denominator in the city. When something goes wrong within the city, you guys tend to go to the media and blame the individual employee. Now, I've heard the complaints that Ms. Lanier said about Councilperson McCoy, but I'm here to let you know, when you were when you were the chairperson, there were similar complaints about you, and there was no accountability. You didn't physically assault anybody, but you were rude, you were disrespectful, you tried to have residents removed, you used your power to have residents removed, you used your power to silence residents.
Pause and stop the time for a
But,
minute. Residents, we will not have that
right.
outburst from the committee. Please
So,
let our speaker speak. Go ahead, Ms.
so
Marbles.
if we're going to enforce rules of decorum, we need to be consistent, and decisions need to be equitable. It's unfair that you're having this meeting to bring out all the incidents that involve Councilperson McCoy. Because one thing I'm going to say about Councilperson McCoy, and it's, again, I agree. If you want to send a complaint to the ethics panel and the governor, I agree. But please add the dirty water and all that stuff in the complaint also, because I think the governor needs to come in and interject what's going on in the city, because there is some lack of consistency. There are some discriminatory practices that's going on. You do have employees that's being bullied. We just noticed it tonight when the city manager said the city clerk was responsible for hiring security, when we all know the city manager has to oversee that. You're the reason why the city manager is holding 2 full-time jobs. I spoke about that before. This is not a city where we need a city manager with 2 full-time jobs. This is not a city where we can't have security guards at the meetings. This is a meeting where we have to have actual officers at the meeting. The reason why we have metal detectors is to prevent people from coming in here with weapons. That's the reason why I say you're trying to stop me now. You cannot use your position when you don't agree with people say. And I think that's why Mr. McCoy is being brought up tonight, because he's the only one that stands on principles at this moment. Him and McCoy, and him and Lawson, and failed to tend to speak up for what's right for residents. And I get it. I'm for you when you're right. I'm for you. I file a complaint, because that type of behavior is a disruption, and it doesn't look good in our community. But what he was speaking on, everybody in here should have gotten an altercation, because there's no reason why the city knew about this, what he spoke on, and didn't notify residents, and then use the excuse, oh, it didn't interfere with the drinking water.
Thank you for your comments. Residents, please remember the item and what we are addressing. We will have an opportunity for general public comments. Madam Clerk?
Next, we have Cindy March, followed by J.B. Dixon, and then Dolores Williams.
Good evening, Council. I'm not agreeing nothing what Lanier said. You know why? Because you all need that same energy that you all using against McCoy. You should have had it for Julia Botel when she displayed racism, bringing the thugs and the gangsters on Singer Island for an event. A rule is a rule. Lanier, you is the reason why this young man holding 2 positions. Oh, let's just go ahead and make him the CRA director while we at it. This man sued the city for $90,000, and y'all pay him damn near almost $400,000 for 2 positions. Let me tell you something. When I speak, I leave and go out that door, because my mental stable won't let me stay in here with you all. So one thing about it, my daddy always taught me, when you see trouble, you leave trouble where it's at. You all ain't worth a hill of beans for me to get these free braces on my own or get a lawsuit. Doug Lawson, I'm very surprised of you. You got some good in you. I have to give you where credit is due. But being that you was the chairperson, let me tell you something. The security called me. I knew about it the day of. And I posted on Facebook, and you was running Facebook. You saw my page. I said, I don't care if you hold a title. I don't care what man you are. But a real man ain't going to let you take their manhood. You know why I put that post out there? To keep my mouth shut. Because I wanted to know how long it was going to take to hit the news. Evans, you was back there. When the meeting was adjourned, I looked at it, the rest of it at home. When the meeting was adjourned, and let me say this, I'm security. We supposed to observe, and we supposed to be able to de-escalate. We supposed to document the way it's done. So if the sheriff department is over here taking over this investigation, let him take over. Because you know why? It was not one police officer at this meeting. And you all talking about special meeting? Some of you, Kashama, Lanier, and Botel. It was several special meeting calls, and none of you show up. We had to go home because it wasn't decorum. So when you set a rule, set it for everybody. Evans, you was back there. And the security guard asked you, and she say, don't stand up in court. They asked you, do you want me to call the police? What did you do? Can you answer that to us? You work for us. We don't work for you. We got too many problems going on here. I don't have no personal vendetta with you, but I'm going to call a spade when I need to. You went out there. You went out there and pointed your finger and tried to McCoy's face. Because how you going to be in somebody's face and get your cornea scratched if you're not up in their face? That man not going to let you take his manhood. Yes, he got a nasty temperament at times. I didn't support him the first time around. But if I'm a woman, and I don't care if you're a man, I'm not going to let you take my womanhood. We're going to have to do what we got to do. And when you put your hand in his face, he bomb rush you. And you know the sad part about it? Doug, why I'm so upset and hyperventilating? Because you're smart. You know how to articulate. And he does too. And we need both of you all. We need both of them.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. March. Thank you for your comments, Ms. March.
Next
Madam
is
Clerk?
J.B. Dixon, Terrence Davis, followed by Jackie Burgess.
I'm J.B. Dixon from Singer Island and Riviera Beach. And unlike the other speakers, I will keep to the topic that I am supposed to. I would ask the chair in any further comments to make people only talk about the motion that is before you. I came up here with great sadness tonight because I like Troderick McCoy. I don't like a lot of the things he does, and I certainly don't like what he did to Mr. Lawson. And I do want you to vote yes, but I have always been one of those people who said, yeah, but, about Troderick McCoy. Yeah, but he's smart, he's well prepared, he's a great model of a father to his son, he's fun, he's funny, but most of all, he's very talented and he brings talents to this dais that otherwise are, I believe, lacking. It's certainly not at the level that he has them. So I come here with great sadness because I have known Troderick McCoy since 2018, and losing his temper at that time was very occasional. I remember one time in a private club that he was my guest in, he chased someone down the stairs to fight with them. Yeah, but maybe he had a few drinks. You know, I was ready to excuse him, again, because of the talents he brings to this city. Then those temper tantrums began to increase. Then the bullying began, not just to employees, not just to his colleagues, but also to outside guests of the city, such as our consultants, developers, business people. He will interrupt them. He will talk over them. He will be just rude to them. This is not a good look for the city. That was when it began, and it wasn't stopped then. The bullying, as I said, came after the occasional outbursts of temper. Then, when physical assault occurs, when people are physically frightened, we cannot stand by and let an incident happen where people are injured or killed. I too am a gun owner. I own 2 guns, but guns do not belong in the hands of people who have this kind of a behavior problem. So I urge you to vote yes, and I do so with sadness because I feel that if Mr. McCoy is removed from the dais, we will miss his talents for the city. And Troderick, if you're watching tonight, I wish you well.
Madam Clerk? Madam Clerk?
Terrence Davis, followed by Jackie Burgess and Dosha Newbold.
Good evening, everyone. Terrence Davis, longtime resident. Happy New Year. I find this meeting disturbing, as many others, but it's an opportunity for us all to learn as we kick off this new year. We're having an issue in the meeting on public safety. But the problem I have, why isn't there any consultation or any presentation from my police chief? He's our expert on public safety. Your police chief has yet to present in this meeting. If you would like to make a complaint to the Ethics Commission, as individuals, there's an application and complaint form that you fill out. You fill out and you submit it. And you also can submit it to the governor. Then you will not have a meeting with all these resources in this room where they can be home with their families. Add up each person, get a salary. And we spending money on a meeting when you could have did this as individuals. And I'm not going to take a position on this because the police chief and the sheriff has an investigation and they have a process they're going to follow. Once that's complete, I'll let that take care of itself. But I want to see this same energy when this water came up again. It came up again. Some of us lost family members, we don't know how. I can say that. I lost my dad, and they told me we never seen nothing like it. And I'm starting to understand what may have happened. What may have happened. We got children, adults, tourists, families that we got to protect. And this water, and no one notified. No one said anything about it. And the last time this happened, what we did, Ms. Miller Anderson, we fired Ruth Jones. We did it together as a board. You actually gave a presentation in that meeting.
Excuse me, Mr. Davis. It's about the motion for this one. We do have general public.
The
comment
motion
as
is
well.
about the complaint. And in that complaint, these are the things we should be discussing because all these things are going in the complaint because you said a whole lot in your motion before you made it.
Thank you, sir.
And you included everything.
Thank you.
Okay? So I'm going to stay inside the motion. You're going to file a complaint. You can do it as individuals. You can submit it to the state. You can submit it to the county, and you have that right. But don't waste all our money sitting in this room when you could have did it at home in an email. Fight over the water. Protect our people, or this election will change things. You can't keep covering up. I ain't going nowhere.
Thank you for comments. Madam Clerk?
I'm sorry, Jackie Burgess, Dosha Newbold, Dolores Williams, and Lady Goldwire was in the hallway when her name was called, so she would be the last speaker.
Good evening, Jacqueline Burgess. I had a question, first of all, of there's no backup, at least I didn't see any backup in the agenda. So what I was thinking of, if you're talking about security, as Mr. Davis said, that we would have people up here talking about the security and what are we going to do about security. Those people out there, the meters and the, not the police officer, but the security guards, they've been there for many years. They didn't just start that because Mr. McCoy came here. They've been here many, many years in City Hall, at City Council meetings, because the council meetings were held at City Hall, so you still had to come through that. So if we're going to talk about what's on the agenda, I first want to know, can you actually bring up a motion when you have something totally different on the agenda? I need that question answered. But the one main thing that really bothered me sitting back there was the comment about the city clerk. One thing we know is the manager is in charge. The city clerk is not in charge of the police department. And when I was working here, it was always every department head had to come to a meeting. So if it was not but one police officer here, it should have been the police chief. City clerk didn't have to tell him anything. You had the department heads here. City clerk didn't have to do that. That's not her job. Don't tell her now that she got to do it because somebody else should have did it. Her job was not that. Her job was to post that meeting and make sure her and her staff is here and make sure the agendas are out. Not direct the police chief because she don't have that authority. Manager or whoever he designate, but it definitely was not the city clerk. So I really regret that, saying, well, maybe she knows now. you as council right now should make sure that she doesn't do that even now. He is responsible, or whoever he designates responsible, notify every department head that they should be here in the meeting, because that's always been in the last 35 years that I worked. Every department head was here. So if there was no other police officer here, I don't know the police chief, but he should have been right here. If there was nobody else, whether he designated, manager designated, or you all designated, he should have been here. So I really regret that he blamed the city clerk for not having someone here. But I also just want to know, as I said before, how are you voting on something that's not really on the agenda? And if it's an ongoing investigation, why are we talking about it? Wait until it's finished and then do whatever you need to do. Thank you.
Dulcia Newbold, Dolores Williams, and Lady Goldwire.
Good afternoon. I'm totally frustrated that I had to come here and my grandbaby is playing a basketball game. But this is really ridiculous. I looked at the portion of the tape that I can see. And in that meeting, Todrick was being quieted in the wrong way. That wasn't professional. That's number one. Number two, he walked out the door. He was quiet. You went behind him, Doug, even if you were going in that direction. And you started with him. But the investigation gonna show it. Trust me. You shouldn't have walked behind him if he's such a threat. You started with him. That's called provoking. That's called taunting. That's called bullying. You bullied him. You bullied. You were the bully. Now you come up with this big thing about, oh, your eye got scratched. Well, you had to be very close, because I'm a fighter. You have to be close to get your eye scratched. And you box that man in the corner. Oh, but the tape is going to show it. And this meeting is utterly ridiculous for y'all to put this on the agenda, and that was the plan for it. What's important is what he was talking about. Feces in the water. That's the meeting we should be having today. Not something about, oh, your safety and you're so scared and this and that would happen. Excuse my bluntness, there's shit in the water people drinking around here. That's what we need to be talking about. That's more important than Todrick. Todrick is not retarded. He's very articulate and intelligent. If he wanted to beat you, Doug, he would have gave you a 3-piece and a biscuit and just took you out right there in that hallway. He's from Revere. He know how to fight. That wasn't his intention. And when it comes out, the most he's going to be charged with, and trust what I'm telling you, is maybe a misdemeanor because you initiated it. It's coming out. And you should wait till the investigation happens before you all start this about not having him there. What you should be talking about is the feces in the water. That's urgent. People are drinking nasty water, and you're sitting up here talking about something that you initiated. That is utterly ridiculous. That's appalling. This is a waste of taxpayers' money that we're sitting in here with such a petty squabble. When you two are gentlemen, Todrick is definitely a gentleman, and I consider you one too, Doug. Y'all can sit down and talk about this and say, man, you know what? Emotions got high. Let's leave this alone. Let's concentrate on what the people voted us for in this office. Let's concentrate on some clean water. Let's take care of that situation. And trust and believe, I'm going to ask the health department about their report. I'm going to the Florida EPA, and I'm going to the federal EPA. And anybody that knew that there was feces in that water, you will be fired and sued.
Thank you for your comments. Madam Clerk?
Dolores Williams, followed by Lady Goldwire.
For Channel 25.
To the mayor, to our chairman, to our city manager, and my wonderful clerk over there, very wonderful person, all the citizens that are here
Revere Beach and those that are not here. I just want to say, talk about the safety. You do need to have safety. There was no one here because when I came in, I thought it wanted to meet. I said, wait, I don't see one police car. Maybe it was undercover. I don't know. But I didn't see any. It could have been now. He could have sent an undercover car here. But what I want to talk about is you saying you don't threaten people and you don't do nothing. We had one of the biggest, and Miss Lanier, you say this started back in 2019, something about Mr. McCoy. Okay, the mayor say all this time, and somebody say all this time you haven't said nothing. Okay, but I want to say this here. You point out Mr. McCoy so Miss Botel, Kashamba, and you, Miss Lanier, y'all were some of the meanest ladies here. When that young lady, y'all fired her, and she has I call them art kit. Y'all didn't want to even give her money. You're voting on it. The two brothers voted to give her the money. You say, no, we'll go back to court. Now, how could you be any meaner than nasty than that?
Mr. Lewis, on the topic.
This coming back for safety,
Thank you.
Chairman.
Thank you, ma'am.
But Botel, when she brought that big incident up in the city where they talking about these black people and these women, this what upset me so talking about they was dancing naked and all. Man, I was so upset about that. But yet you say a police officer told you that's what you heard. That police officer, Chief, I want you to find who was that police officer. He's still working. He must go. You hear what I say? If he lied like that, but that big had this whole city.
We will have
well, that
public
was
comment.
security. They shut the city down and let the council meet about what she was saying. Stop blaming one person, and you've done so many other things here. And still about that water, I told you get a glass of water, clear water, white thing, and see how yellow being dropped some chloride, see how clear it come up, okay? Stop blaming one another when you live in a glass house and throwing a rock and hiding your hand. What you say and do is being written down and don't have no films or nothing. God got the number. God got it. He gonna pay us all out for our work. You say you know about the deeds they do. Y'all better stop acting up here because y'all got some bad deeds and blaming somebody and you trying to hide your hand throwing rocks.
Lady Goldwire, and that will be the last for public comments,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chair, on this item.
I'm
there
sorry, residents. We're going to have general public comment. And
their cards are for general public.
Residents, we will get it figured. Go ahead, Madam Clerk. You said their cards are what?
They are marked for general public comment.
Okay.
So if you want to allow them to speak, we could mark the item on there.
Miss Lady March, if you'd like to make your comments, please. And then I believe we have two additional comments that are general public comment. Do you want to speak about the item at hand or general? Thank you. I'm sorry, Madam Clerk. We'll allow for the Madam Clerk.
Okay, we're ready.
We're gonna allow for the residents to speak about the item at hand, being that there was a motion made on the floor during the item, and still keep general public comment open. Welcome, Ms. March.
How you doing? I just want to first and foremost thank each of you all, believe it or not, for what it is you do on a regular basis with regard to service. I've had a firsthand, front row seat on how complicated things can get and how emotions can work their way into the day-to-day decision making. I was concerned when I looked at the agenda not being able or being well equipped to navigate the system and not see the backup and really get a real gist and understanding as to what we were coming for. And so I'd like to know that you guys can do or would be willing to do a better job of putting that backup into place. The other thing I wanted to recommend was on the dais, often I see where there's a continuum of people getting up and leaving and going to the back throughout the meeting. And I just wanted to offer a suggestion. There are people who wait, they conjure up all week to be heard at these meetings. Perhaps you can take the approach of taking a recess where you all get up collectively and go and come back so that someone doesn't run the risk of making a comment and then you being outside when they do it because, most people just want to be heard. They just want to be heard. I appreciate you, Miss Williams, for always thinking of me, but I want to go on the record and say this. I've been made whole. I don't have any ill will or any with you guys. I really, really would like to see us be able to get to a place where we can just do business, do good business. That having been said, I think we should be careful, especially the men on the dais. We need you all so bad. You guys are our legs. And everybody has a different way of doing things. It takes all kinds. We need you. And I don't know if you go smoke a cigar or drink a bourbon and figure this out. We all on the same team, all of us, because water touches all of us. It don't matter what side of the bridge you live on. It don't matter what the color of your skin. It touches all of us. And when we have more focus on the controversy and the conflict between two men getting into an altercation than we do on why they got into the altercation, which was the water, that's the real problem. They got us all redirected and focusing on them and that. And there's been absolutely zero energy put into how we make sure fecal matter doesn't present in the wells again. And I know the story is it didn't make it into the homes, but if it took them 7 months to tell us we didn't have anything to worry about, how many months would it take us to take them to tell us if we do, or would they? Those are my comments.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
Next, we have Lloyd Brown, John Miller, and Doretta Polk.
How you doing, council and everybody? Me, I work on cars, so you got to start at a point. So I'm going to start to where they got into the conflict. Okay, if it was me and I was out there, officers would have been called on me if I wouldn't have kept quiet. That's where it started. You should have told him to be quiet, and you should have called somebody in. If it wasn't, you should have called somebody to remove him, just as you would remove me, Lozman, or anybody else who disrupted. There, you don't have no specialty because you up there. You got to go by. See, I'm not a big word man or quorum or whatever it is. You got to abide by your rules just like you want us to abide by them. And like you should have been stronger. You should have stopped it, and you should have told the man to cut the mics off. Let's get this thing straight before we get into it. You shouldn't have let him go that far. But you wouldn't let one of us go that far. That's what get me. That's where it all started. If you would have told, like, you got kids, okay, you don't chastise them when they doing wrong, they either end up in prison or they gonna end up in jail or something wrong. You have to stop a situation when it started. You should have told him, hey, look, you're gonna have to be quiet or I'm calling somebody. Or even the manager, or anybody, the mayor, or anybody in here. Y'all should have stood up for him when he was talking to us, y'all too, because y'all are council members. You should have stood up for Lawson and say, hey, come on, Troy, the man right. I don't care if it's not your time. It's like y'all want to do it like a fundamental thing. Say, well, it's his time to talk, it's their time. No, y'all should have came together and say, hey, look, the man is right, Tragic. So just respect that. It wouldn't have went this far. Honestly, I don't think it would have got this far. And like, as far as I'm concerned, you push on the police, that's battery. You can't even walk up to a person and push them. That's battery. See, I watch a lot of things on TV, and especially when it comes down to law and rights, you cannot put your hands on an individual. I mean, you're not his daddy. My mama told my brothers and them that they used to whoop me because I was the youngest. She said, you're not his daddy, so you can't put your hands on him. And like, it should have stopped. When you told him and he kept talking, that's when you should have closed down the meeting. You shouldn't have got deeply involved. You should have never came back at him and told him, well, that's disrespect, because apparently he didn't give a damn about you anyway. So it's like what you telling him didn't make sense. And you got to stand up, man, and be a man for your rights. If somebody, you got the right to be there. And I'm not saying I'm against you or with you or whatever, but that's your right. That's your right. It should have never got this far. And like the people coming in here talking about the water, okay, the water's bad, all right. But this what happened. You tell him to stop, he should stop. That's all I'm saying. It ain't nothing about he got rights. Because he talking about the water. He should stop. He would stop and put me in jail.
John Miller, followed by Doretta Paul.
John Miller, Singer Island, Port of Riviera Beach. Look, I've been in several meetings over my 75 years. I've worked and did big jobs for the government and would have weekly meetings, and we'd be in there with the government for hours. I can tell you this much. I had arguments with engineers. I was the construction project manager. Some of the engineers I had didn't know half of what I did, but they had the paper. But what I can tell you, you can't do. I don't care what the reason is. You can't put your hands on anybody. You got no right to do that, period. And we keep hearing all these different things. We're pointing fingers. Construction, it's funny because they showed me this when I started. You point the finger, three's coming back at your stuff. And and here, let's get back to the main thing that happened here. It was an assault. Should have never happened. Okay, we're talking about the water department. I watched the Channel 5 thing on that. I don't know that much about it. I know I drank that water. And certainly I want good water. But we do have a head of the utility department. And that should be the person up here telling us the story, period. But what the heck does that have to do with flipping out, taking over a meeting, just riding over? And this has happened many times. I haven't been here in 2 years. And I'll tell you the reason why I haven't been here. 2 years ago when you all got elected, I did not vote for Mr. McCoy. And I had told him that I would back him. And so my wife, who has Alzheimer's disease, we were sitting in that first row right over there. Mr. McCoy got sworn in first. I think you were second, Mr. Lawson, right? As soon as he got sworn in, he came flying down to me and my wife right over where you're sitting, Chief, right about there, and started screaming at me, telling me that I was Benjamin Arnold. This is a nothing. My wife with Alzheimer's didn't know what was going on and got extremely upset. You can't put up with a bully, Bullies cannot run this city. He can't. Now obviously he has some kind of problem with people where he can't talk. Or when he does talk, he's screaming, carrying on. If whatever he said to Julie, she didn't say what they said at the parade when he was hollering out. Do you think that's right? No matter what race you are? I wasn't brought up that way. And I have full respect for every person and every race. But you don't do that. You don't do what he did. And we're going all around, we're going to blame Evans. It's his fault. And Mayor, I have one thing to say to you. Heavy is the hat. Heavy's the head that wears the crown. And if you're going to look into harassments, this is a harassment. And by the way, have you talked to Human Resources about, in other words, people putting complaints in? Have you, sir? Because there's plenty there.
Doretta Paul.
Good evening. My name is Doretta Park, and I don't think this meeting was ridiculous to call. We definitely needed this meeting because this has been going on for years now. I don't understand what the problem was between Mr. McCoy and Mr. Lawson, but that's assault. From what I heard on the news, your cornea was damaged, scratched. You could lose an eye. You can have an infection. Regardless of anything, you did not start the the fight. You were just trying to talk to him, as what I heard. This has been escalating. I don't know what is wrong with this young man. I have talked to him several different times, but the way that he has taunted and gone after Ms. Lanier and Dr. Botel is awful. And we have witnessed this. And I don't know, it's probably even elevated when you have these closed section meetings. And for Mayor, if you were there when this altercation came up, yes, you say that you're not investigating Mr. Trodrick, but something needs to be done. You have to speak on it one way or the other. And you see his conduct. Yes, I really feel that Trodrick is brilliant, but there is something not right here. Not right. For him to go after women the way he has at the parade, what he did, Martin Luther King's Day, and saying those things, the derogatory things about Dr. Botel wasn't right. And kudos to Renard, who went and got the mic from him and to stop this. This is totally wrong. And he has to somehow be, I don't know if he needs counseling, I don't know what it is, but this is wrong when you go and attack women like this. And don't even try to think about trying to attack Mrs. Park, because my dear husband taught me very well how to take care of myself. We need the police in here. Every meeting, we need the police in here. Because if things like this is going to be happening, we do need the police in here. The only one I don't think he probably even tried to attack is Miss Kashamba Anderson Miller. Because you know why? She has a husband. These two ladies don't have a husband. And I really think that's one of the criteria. But for her to be taunted and talked to the way and bullied the way these women have is wrong. We need to address that. And thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments.
Councilman Lawson, we do have one final public comment card. That is Erica Davis.
Erica Davis, Riviera Beach.
Yes, sir.
Doug,
Welcome,
I heard what
Davis.
you said when you diverted the situation to who's going to be the CRA. Who cares about that right now? We're discussing someone who's not mentally stable, that attacked you, disrupt the meetings. We have business to take care of. He disrupts the meetings with his temper. He jumps in people's face. He disrespects the vendors when they come in here. And I know we have residents in here that love Trodrick because they grew up with him in the neighborhood and all this. It's not about that. You can like somebody, but if they're not doing the job, then they need to be gone. And he's a threat. He's a bully. He bullies everybody. I have had altercations with him, and God knows I pray every day for my temper because I'm not that person. I'm not that person. But all this ghetto ignorance in Riviera Beach with these black people out here talking and aiding in the bad foolishness, it's time to stop. We have to do business. We have a fire department, police department. We have things to do in this city and take care of business. And we need to get rid of him. You all vote to get rid of him. He shouldn't have been on the dais in the first place. He needs to go bye-bye. And don't you sit up here, Doug, and justify anything. Don't play games. He has to go. He's disrupting our business at hand. And he's the linchpin to some of these folks out here that's aiding and abetting his bull crap, because they want to end and they can't get one. But the point is, we have business to take care of and it needs to be done. So do what you got to do, ladies. I don't care what it is, but he needs to go. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, any additional comments?
Mr. Chairperson, that's the end of public comments for this item.
Thank you. All right, so for clarity for all of our residents, the backup and the item that was announced tonight was safety and security. So whatever we're talking about now is the discussion that we've had. So I have been on topic for all residents. I've been very clear and direct with all residents. I'm sorry, residents, please. If we're going to have outbursts, I'm going to ask you to leave the room. Simple as, simple as us moving forward with professionalism, with decorum. I've continued to run these meetings in that fashion, and I will continue to do that regardless of the situation. So our understanding is that we are going to move this city forward, and that is our intent. The discussion turned into, after it was posted, and I asked my city manager, what are we meeting for, to be clear? Councilwoman Lanier was very clear with her intent, but that's not what was outlined in the backup. So some residents are here for one reason or another because of hearsay, not because of what was documented. So if we want to have a certain respect and decorum, I want to be very clear on the record. I do support my colleague's intent. I will not be bullied or attacked or continue to stand by in any intent. So I will stand strong with what is happening as we move forward, and I support Councilwoman Lanier's motion for tonight. But I want us to be clear. Mr. Evans, when we do anything with this city, understand that you represent the entire city, and the only person that we can address is you and Attorney Nguyen. So if we need to address safeties and securities, I'm going to talk about the CRA. I'm going to talk about the safety. I'm going to talk about the lack of police. I'm going to talk about what is actually on this agenda. But I'm also going to talk about what my colleague addressed, and I'm going to support that tonight. So as my residents are here, we do have business to get to. So we've had enough discussion and back and forth about a discussion we're going to move on from. We'll make a decision and we move the city forward. So if we have no more comments from the board,
I have one more comment.
Pro Temp Lanier, go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to say that it is very disheartening to come to the residents, to come to this board and talk about the years of harassment that I've had in this city with Councilman McCoy. And I will not let anyone gaslight me to make me think that that is not important, to make me feel as if my safety does not matter. Because I kept this long enough, hoping that things would turn around, hoping that something would happen to make this not be this way. But after the altercation last Wednesday, it was clear that things are actually escalating. And to sit here and defend that type of behavior is unconscionable. That you would defend a person being assaulted, that you would defend a person, you would defend someone, the women up here being harassed, the 19 employees that have written complaints against Councilman McCoy. So I'm very disheartened that this city, the people in this room, I should say, would defend that type of behavior.
Thank you for your comments. Any additional comments from the board? Madam Mayor?
Yes,
Go ahead.
thank you, Chair. And again, I think I want to address, because my name keeps coming up about my investigation. What's unfortunate is this. It's two of my colleagues, two men, and I heard the young lady that came up that said she need us men to be here. Unfortunately, I was there. I saw the whole thing. Most people that report on it is hearing hearsay, right? I seen two brothers. And the sad part about it, it's us that's killing us. It's us that are going on social media, killing one another. Two brothers that's both passionate about this city. And I think shit, we could have went and had a bourbon and a cigar, right? And now we got the news, and we got both parties split because, Councilman Lawson has people that love him, and Councilman McCoy has people that love him, right? And those people come in passionate. But I seen two of my brothers that, I'm good with their families. Their family's like my family, and to get something, anybody can shake their head. I mean, everybody has a right. See, this one thing I know: you have a right to think how you want to think, right? And so this is just what you think is right. You have the right. But You shake your head all you want to at me. It's what I think, because at the end of the day, it's us. At the end of the day, it's us. And we can't get that right. What are we going to get right? Why do we do what we do? We come to serve. And two brothers right now just being slandered. And some people are using it for their benefit. Wait. Let me say this, because we could say stuff is not political, but I'm wise enough to know, right? Some people use it for their benefit. Because if it happened in 2019, it happened in 2020, it happened in 2021, it happened in 2022, you count the years. And so I'm not going to be I have one thing about me, I make my own moves. I move by my own beat. I'm not influenced by nobody. And I don't take nobody's agenda but what I think is right. All right. So to try to move me and pressure me to do anything, you're going to lose that fight. Because I said, don't put other investigations with my investigations when I have employees that have come to me that were investigated. Now, to let the public know, you're right. I am calling an investigation also in the town hall about our water. Because it is important. We have many important issues that the city is facing, if only you knew. But you know what? The thing about it, most of you only know the outside. When you inside this stuff, it'll make you cringe. And so all I'm asking is this. Whatever happens with these brothers is going to happen. But man, these brothers got families too. These brothers got kids. These brothers got wives. These brothers got parents. And just respect that. Because neither one of you saw what happened. I was there. And I didn't hear all kind of mess that when one story got to you, it didn't change a whole bunch of times. But take it from somebody that was there. All that, everybody else, I'm telling you, two passionate men, and they're gonna make their decisions what they're gonna do. But don't kill us, and don't nobody use that to come up and kill, somebody that's giving their all and they're passionate about it. Do what you want to do. You shake your head. I mean, fine. It's your right. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, people voted for them. That's why some of you ain't get elected. They ain't vote for you. They voted for who they wanted. Right? Hey, don't have a
Thank you, Mayor. Residents.
So listen.
Residents. I'm going to hold on, Mayor. I'm sorry. Residents, please. We don't interrupt any of the board up here, especially our mayor. If you have a concern or an issue, please, we can speak during your public comment when you have an opportunity. But do not outburst and interrupt our meetings, please. We're trying to get the business done.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mayor.
If you want to meet with me, call and set up a meeting. We can talk. So that's all I'm saying. What happened. Let these two men figure that out, and don't keep killing them, and don't kill us, because what it does is it's setting us back. All right. And I'm not condoning anything that happened. Trust me. But what I'm saying is, let's let this bring us together. Don't let this separate us. That's all I'm asking. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any additional comments from the board? Madam Clerk?
Councilperson Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Councilperson Botel,
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Lanier,
Yes.
Chairperson Lawson.
Yes.
That is a unanimous vote.
We're now going to go into public comments.
Mr. Chair, we have 17 public comment cards. The first speaker is Lady Goldwire.
While Ms. Goldwire is coming up, public comments shall begin at 5:45 unless there's no further business in the event, which shall begin sooner. In addition, if an item is being considered at 5:45, then comments from the public shall begin immediately after the item has been concluded. Please be reminded, the City Council Board has adopted rules of decorum governing public comment during official meetings, which has been posted at the front desk. In an effort to preserve order, if any rules are not adhered to, the City Council Chair may have any disruptive speaker or attendee removed from the podium, from the meeting or building. Please govern yourselves accordingly.
Lady Goldwire. Next, we have Cindy March, Marvelous Washington, and Margaret Shepard.
Talk about anything now. We're done with all the other
It's
foolishness, right?
general public,
Okay.
anything, ma'am.
Good evening. A lot of you all ran on clean water. You ran on transparency. You ran on loyalty. One thing I can say, and everybody have their indifference of opinion, but Tragic knows that charter. I get up here at all the meetings when I do come, and he be so angry because he goes on what he ran on. Yes, he can handle his emotions better than he do. But if you kick a dog too long, he gonna bite you. Okay? If you kick a dog too long, he gonna bite you. I was growing up. I used to make pods, semiconductor pods, weapons for the war, Desert Storm. I was in the education field. I was told that I couldn't do this and I couldn't do that. I was laid off of the same company for 14 years. My expertise and knowledge alone, they called me back to work to make some more weapons and some things to go in the airplane. I'm a security now. I don't have to watch my back. I don't have to be protective of what I say. Because you know why? I walk on faith and I walk with God. Yeah, I raise a little hell because he's still working on me. And he should be working on all of us to find unity with one another. Doug, we need you. We need Project. Because if we don't have Project, we're going to be left behind for its transparency. We need to get this behind us. Do what you must do. But make sure that you cross all your T's and dot all your I's. Because you know what you got, but you don't know what you're going to get. That's why I tell all of you all out here that don't show up for this harassed meeting that you didn't know what was really on the agenda. You show up when it's time for trouble. But you call us who calls out a spade. Kashama, I can remember when you was the chairperson a few times in the old city hall and right here. Both of you, Lanier and Kashama, have walked me out, have the police walk me out the door. Like I can kick everybody's ass up in this building. When you got 20 police around here. And guess what the police officer said? I'm only doing my job because the chairperson told me to stand up when you all speak. And you know what? I don't have no ill with you. No person of the devil, whether you want to believe it or not. But I don't like a person that throw rocks and hide their hands. I want you to I want to know that I know where you're coming from when you speak from the mouth and you speak truthfully. Because see, I don't hung on the worst streets this is was Rosemary and Terrace. And there ain't nothing to brag about. But guess what? I still got my respect at 60 years old. You know why? Because I gave respect. When I set a rule, I set it for everybody, whatever job I have. And we got to find unity. Because you know who laughing at us? The people that don't look like us. They will use us to get what they want. Here we need affordable housing. Here we need these streets done. Here we need adequate street lighting where we can see. Let's focus on that.
Thank you for your comments.
Next is Marvelous Washington, Margaret Shepard, and Lloyd Brown.
Good evening again, Marvelous Washington. I have a couple questions in regards to the water. I know that a special meeting was called and due to the behavior that happened last meeting, but will the topic of who was responsible to notify the residents, this state, would that topic be hosted during a special meeting? Or will that be added to the agenda for the next meeting? Because I think that is a very important issue. And like I said before, during that meeting, when Councilperson McCoy notified the residents that, this occurred 7 months ago and we did receive a notice, everybody that attended this meeting should have gotten in some form of altercation because this is serious. I came up here maybe 8 or 9 months ago and let you guys know that canal number 17 was leaking sewage and there wasn't a fix for that. Canal number 17 is located next to or near canal number 14 that's in question, the well number 14. So you have known for some time that there are some infrastructure issues. And the only thing that we can come up with is requesting $55 million for Parks and Recreation bond, $25 million for a fire station. Now, let me tell you something. Public safety should be our number one concern. But my concern with these bond initiatives is the amount that's being requested. Chair, I would like my time reset. It's the distraction. I don't know.
Residents, again, the noise travels, please, residents. Go ahead, Ms. Washington.
But my concern is the amount that's being asked from residents. You have multiple residents, some that have came up here that are on fixed incomes. So adding $300 additional per year is a burden to them. I don't understand where the numbers came from. I know that you're probably trying to anticipate inflation, but a $25 million fire station is not practical considering we got this Walmart-sized fire station on Congress that was worth over 20-something million dollars. $55 million for a parks bond when you don't really specify where that money is going doesn't entice me to want to vote yes on these bonds. Yes, our police need a new police station. But these other bond initiatives, I think you guys should have reconsidered the limits, the amount that you're asking for, and take into consideration the residents. Okay? Thank you, Mayor, for launching an investigation to harassment because I spoke about that 8 months ago, and I was told that employees were leaving because they wanted to work from home. I know that was a lie. I know that we just lost an employee this week, a building official. It's so many things that are happening within our city, and employees are afraid to do their job. And after we saw tonight was a classic example how when employees do their job, they're either forced to leave or they're forced to be embarrassed in front of the residents and the media. There's no reason why individual employees should be blamed for the shortcomings of the city. Thank you.
Next, we have Margaret Shepherd, Lloyd Brown, and Rochelle Hughes.
Margaret Shepherd, Riviera Beach. To our honorable clerk, happy birthday to her. This is the day that the Lord has made, and I hope you have many, many more.
Thank you.
To our chairman and of course our vice chair, our mayor, I know this is a very, very touchy meeting. I did talk to the chief a little bit. I think he's a very good chief. I like the way he's rolling. But I went to him, I was trying to get to you, Mayor. I know you're busy. But anyway, Sergeant McCoy came to me in the basement of Hilltop and told me that my ex-son-in-law was his father. I took one look at him and I shook my head because I know the whole entire Burgess family. Went home and asked my daughter, why you didn't tell me your husband had an outside child? She said, Mom, that's not his child. Let me fast forward. Chadrick went to the Riviera Beach Police and told them that I was harassing him and his father, that I was going to jump on him. What happened was, I was not talking to Sergeant McCoy. He interfered in my family business. I was talking to my ex-son-in-law. He bit my daughter, spit in her face. And my daughter, if you listen real quietly and listen to what I'm saying, my daughter had to go to the doctor every 7 months to be tested. Now you all figure out what I'm talking about. I was irate. I went into a tailspin, and on that tape, it taped me saying what I had to say to my son-in-law. I have in my hand, and I'm glad my pastor son is sitting here, the Reverend Griffin Davis Jr. His father and I had a great relationship. In this paper, and I was hoping Charger could be here and leave me the hell alone. 99.9, Joe Burgess is not Chadrick's father. And I'm saying that because my baby came to me. Joelle, my baby, Miss Miller Anderson, came to me crying. She said, Mom, is that my brother? I said, first of all, I said, Joelle, you are Portuguese and you are Bahamian. Read through the line. Read through the line of what I just said. Mr. Burgess, read through the line. He has caused nothing but contempt to my baby. I have to keep telling her, this is not your brother. And I hope, Griffin, you go back, because I made a copy, and I'm glad you're here, because I talk to your father all the time about this. And it has come to a real headache with my family. And I hope this stops. Does Dr. Botel and Ms. Lanier and all these, when you sat in the courtroom, you were shaking up because the way Mr. Charger McCoy attacked these women. He won't attack me. I don't know why.
Thank you for your comments.
Lloyd Brown, Rochelle Hughes, John Miller. I think he left. Rochelle, John Miller, and Dolores Williams.
Good evening, Board. Rochelle Baker Hughes, Riviera Beach. I probably should have come up during the agenda item. I apologize. In regards to Mr. McCoy, so I'm from Lone Pine. You all know what's been going on with Lone Pine. There was a meeting at Lone Pine Golf Course back in May, June 2021. And I was speaking because someone asked a question and I just gave general answers. And Mr. McCoy attacked me in front of probably 60 to 75 residents. I was shocked. I know Mr. Mayor came later and he was informed of it. We said we'd have a conversation. I'm going to tell you right now, I didn't follow through with that because of the golf course and me fighting to keep the golf course zoned as recreational open space and not having a development. So I refrained from really having any communications with Mr. McCoy about anything just because of that altercation. So Miss Lanier, I can understand where you're coming from. I just had the one. I didn't realize how many were there. So, but at the same time, I will also say Mr. McCoy has, in past meetings, discussed and brought up things that I wouldn't think of, and he's made points. So there's good and there's bad in all of us and with Mr. McCoy. So I don't want anyone to think that I don't like Mr. McCoy. I respect every single one of you that's up on that dais, and I've said that before. I just, when someone's that aggressive, I think, and we talk about mental health, then maybe there's some help that's needed. The other thing I was going to talk about, because this is safety and security, is about the water. And I saw the public notice on the website, and I was a little bit distraught knowing that. I don't know where it affected, where that well was and who it goes to, but I do hope the city does address that, maybe in the next council meeting, so that we all know. Because, I mean, I will tell you, I don't drink the water. Unfortunately, sometimes my cats do because it's running and they drink it. But I would hate for anybody from 7 months ago, if they got sick when that happened, and it was because of that, because there was no notification put out, that it could be brought back up. So I hope the city will address that safety issue. And security, absolutely. There should be security every time you guys have a meeting in this event center and when you eventually go back to City Hall, because thank you.
John Miller, Dolores Williams, Erica Davis.
I believe Mr. Miller left.
Dolores Williams, Erica
Dolores.
Davis, and JB Dixon.
Sometimes I come up here and bring a card late. Usually you can't do it, but these came in afterwards. Y'all pay attention to that security. But I would just want to say something about, you talk about security. I felt bad, and I hate to be calling a person name by Mr. Lanier. The man, I think he's gone, but he came in, he apologized to me because I came from this podium going by for talking about something here, and he snapped on me. And he was coming at me. The only thing that Miss Lanier was the chairman that night was, put her out, call the police, the popo on me. Had them all run there to put me out. Don't be talking about nobody be aggressive and treating people wrong, defaming my name too, like I did something. They couldn't hardly calm her down till the city manager had to go over there and tell her. And the man came up and apologized, saying she did not do nothing to me. But she was so aggressive at me. Don't talk about what people say, other people so bad. We got a lot of people that in our family that's high temper and rage and all that. We got things that happen. But don't just put a person, I'm going to give him this. He never raged at me or nothing like that. But I can give him, he know this charter and he know this city and what needs to be done. A lot of them sit up there and they be talking and He said, you can't do that. That's not in the charter. You're not supposed to do that. They'd be here. Then they jump on it and try to make like they want to get with it and vote for it. But yet they didn't know how to bring up. You're trying to throw the baby out with the water. I'm calling him no baby now. But I'm talking about knowledge and understanding. He know this city. All y'all getting up here and talking about what happened. The mayor said he was back there. But all y'all that heard this and heard that got on Facebook. I don't have that whatever y'all doing, just spread it like cancer. I'm going to tell you this much. I respect Chairman. I love him. But he had somebody say something to me before all that happened. And I called him. I said, you were trying to reach me to know what it's about. You know what I told him? He said, yeah. And he explained to me what it was about. I said, this is what I want you to think about. Your two brothers. What you think they want this city to be? You as brothers cannot run this city. That you gonna mess this city up. But you brothers come together and let us reason together. It say, though your sin be scarlet, come let us reason together, and God will wash them out. All of you want to make, Mr. Lanier, you sit up like you're not saying nothing, but you done got on me many times and try to make me look bad here. I even came up to you and asked you, what the hell, what have I done to you? Not a thing.
Erica Davis, JB Dixon, followed by Terrence Davis.
Erica Davis, Riviera Beach. You know what the problem has always been with non-progression in the city? It's the mindset. The mindsets of our residents and our people in this city using friends, family to do business. This is not how this works. You don't hold anybody accountable who do anything wrong. The mindsets always come in with an agenda instead of the agenda of the business at hand. That is the problem with this city. I don't know if it'll ever end because the mindsets are not there. And we need to stop electing people with the mindsets of the mayor and of McCoy. We need professionalism. And this is serious. I mean, every week, this is the first of the month, and we have drama all the time. The same old stuff over and over again. And you have the news people here. If you're going to have drama, get paid for it. Just start a series. But for real, though, we need to stop this. This man is trying to push the agenda along. But he can't do it because there's always obstacles in the way, and they're always blaming him. But you are the voting board here that makes the last decisions. All he does is bring the stuff to you. So I wish people stop coming in here, especially the ones that were in the past, on the past board, didn't do a doggone thing in 10 years about the damn water and about the infrastructure in here. You could have been doing one building at a time, and we wouldn't have to go in debt to do all of them at one time. So don't bring yourself in here talking about the water and the buildings and the bonds. We need the bonds to build the buildings because they're falling apart and people are getting sick. What do you crazy people don't understand? And I'm sick of this with these people coming in here with this bull crap. It's petty. We don't have time for this. People are getting sick in these buildings. We need to move this city forward. We need professionalism. We need knowledge. And we need vision on this board. So you have a 1 year to make this happen. I don't care what else is going on. We need to move this city forward. We need to move it forward. It's getting ridiculous. And if these crazy people can't see that this boy is mentally unstable, that he could have shot Doug, we would have had a homicide. Because he's allowed to bring a gun in here. This is serious. This is not a joke. So come 2025, it's on.
Thank you for your comments.
JB Dixon, Terrence Davis, and Jackie Burgess.
JB Dixon, Singer Island and Riviera Beach. Mr. Chairman, when I came up here to speak before, I said that I would stick to the topic as you had requested, and I asked you to make other people stick to the topic, which you did not. You told them, and when they continued, you failed to enforce your own rule. I think that you do a fairly decent job as chair, but I do not think that you are strong enough in enforcing the rules. You tell people, be quiet, stop speaking. They don't, and you don't do anything about it. So I would like to ask you to be a stronger leader, because I think you're a good leader. I think you chair very well, but you must start to enforce your own rules, not just state them. I also want to say that I find it extremely disingenuous of the people who have been coming up here trying to blame Jonathan Evans for the fact that two people fought in the back. And when the security guard who was here failed to stop that, somehow Jonathan Evans, who I understand was also back there, and also tried to stop it. That's ridiculous. There's an election coming up. We're all well aware of that. And we're all well aware of the talking points of one side of that election. One of them is get rid of Jonathan, at least separate the city from the CRA leadership. The other ones are, oh my God, there was shit in the water. There wasn't, and you know it. At least I hope that people are intelligent enough to see what the scientists have said. There was contamination in a well. Water from the well goes to the water plant. That's why we have a water plant. It is tested. They find it is contaminated. They do not let it go through. They fix it. They decontaminate it, and then they let it through to your taps. So please, you may not like the color of your water, you may not like the smell of your water, but your water is safe. So stop all this scare tactics of, oh my God, you're drinking water with stuff in it. It's really, really another rumor going around. We all know who starts these, is that not only is there stuff in your water, to the Singer Island people, oh, you know that Ocean Walk Mall? They're going to tear it down, and they've approved 2 towers to go up. There will be no more parking, no more public beach. Bull. That's what they're doing at the marina, not over there.
Terrence Davis, Jackie Burgess, and Dosha Newbold.
Good evening to the public, everyone at home, and the council and the mayor. One thing I don't do, well, Terrence Davis, I don't address no one from the public. We all have our opinions. We agree with them, disagree with them. Come with your facts, come with your research. I would never judge you based upon it. But under my leadership, I didn't do it by myself. I had 4 other colleagues, and we got this city into compliance. The record stated. I made a motion, there was a second, to declare a state of emergency. And what we did at that time, because Lynn Hubbard seconded, we made sure that we had the proper engineers in place, multiples, so we can price things and go through the bidding process and expedite making sure our water is clean. The well system that people talk about, the issue that we had with the wells was they were so old from 1953 and 1955 that the parts that you used to fix the wells, they don't make them anymore. So they had to go across seas to order these parts, and it was an aggressive effort. And I give credit to all the staff who worked here at that time to get us in compliance. And these are the things that people need to know. But since then, what has happened? We know we got an old plant. I understand that. And things are going to happen. But when you say reimagine Riviera Beach 3 years in a row, reimagine Riviera Beach 3 years in a row. Now, I've come here before. I even called Mr. Evans on numerous occasions, say, listen, I don't want to come to the mic and be a problem. I want to help you improve this city. Right, Mr. Evans? See? He nodded his head. He agreed. I've always want to be a part of the solution. But sometimes you have to admit when it's too much. And it ain't personal, but it's personal when you know better, you don't do better. I want to see everybody up there find a way to get better. And I've said this on numerous occasions. This meeting here is not about getting better. It's not about that. Now, we got a process in place. We got rules. They got state laws. We got a chief of police. We got to address that. But back to I'm not getting off this water. Because every time I take a shower, I have to do it fast because my skin dries. And it's like that, and it's hard to keep moisturized because it strips your body of so much moisture and minerals on the upper layer of the skin and the lower layer of your skin. And those are facts. Ladies and gentlemen, work together. Leave this issue alone. Let the chief do his job. You do yours. Elections to take care of itself. Because people, they'll vote everybody out when they see chaos. Because it was Councilperson Botel who led off by city in turmoil, and look what it is. Pick the common denominator. I don't blame Evans. I blame Botel. Because she's been leading the effort.
Thank you for coming.
And we know what it is.
Thank you.
He's doing
Thank
what
you.
he's been given
Mr.
directions
Davis,
to do.
thank you for coming, sir.
Those are facts.
Next, we have Jackie
Thank you, sir.
Burgess, Dosha Newbold, and Doretta Paul.
You said what?
Good evening. Again, Jackie Burgess. I just had one quick comment. It was stated that we was here to blame, or people was here to blame Mr. Evans. Mr. Evans was asked a question about why security was not here that night, and he made the statement that it was the city clerk's responsibility. So my thing was, it was not her responsibility. It never was the city clerk responsibility to tell the chief what to do. So it's not to blame him for what happened that night. I would say blame him for not having security here, and then let him put the blame on maybe police chief or whoever that was supposed to have that to happen. My other comment, I still didn't get an answer about making a motion at a special meeting when that item that you voted upon was not on the agenda. And Ms. Lanier, I would hope that we can have the backup that you have, that you say you have, that it could be provided. And Mr. Lawson, I do believe that you're doing a great job as the chair. You know, I support you, but I do believe on that last motion, because you stated that you did not want to make any comments because it was an ongoing investigation. I do not believe that you should have voted. You should have recused yourself at that point upon that vote. Thank you.
Next is Dosha Newbold, Doretta Paul, and Delcia Brooks Hamilton. Doretta Paul.
Good evening. My name is Doretta Park, and I just want to make some other comments concerning this issue with the confrontation between Councilman McCoy and Chair Douglas Lawson. It's like a black eye getting a black eye. I think possibly when this chair went to go in the back, he probably went to try to talk to Ms. McCoy. And I don't know, I wasn't there, but regardless of what, to assault another person, council person, that is just wrong. It is wrong and should never have happened. And as far as the mayor was saying, well, different things have happened to Councilwoman Shirley Lanier in the different years. That is just the climax, how it's going on, carrying on with this young man. Because I was there when she had her congratulatory celebration when she won. And Miss McCoy came over there and made donuts all over that driveway. Just basically destroyed that driveway with the donuts. And it's just been escalating. Now, I am definitely for making sure we have security in here. I have talked about security over and over, and we should never have that happen again. Always, Chief Coleman, have security in here for all our sake. And I do believe that she probably has been definitely been tormented. Both of these ladies on the diocese have been tormented. I don't think they're making that up. And I think a whole lot have happened even with closed sections. And you all have been in here. And if you all think that his conduct is correct, that is wrong. There's something going on here. And we have to stop it before someone gets hurt or killed. And I hope that every time he comes through that door, I hope it's just one area that he can come to, Chief, or if it's another area he can come to, all of us come through security and make sure no one has a weapon. Because this is very serious when a woman has to be basically talked to in the manner of disrespectful manner. Because I'm sure you wouldn't want your wife to be talked to like that. What she has gone through, both of them gone through. Or your wife also, Mr. Lawson. So let's just come together in 2024 and let's stop this. And I thank you very much because something needs to be done. And I thank you.
Delcia Brooks Hamilton, and the last commenter will be Ms. Mary Bram.
Good evening, Council, Mr. Chair, Mayor, and City Manager. My name is Delcia Brooks Hamilton, and it's unfortunate that we have to be here this evening under the circumstances. I am so excited because the city is moving forward. We're building the phase 2 of the Marina project, and I'm excited that I'm going to have the opportunity to build my restaurant. But you know, it's unfortunate that as a business person to have to deal with this type of situation is uncalled for. You know, I come from a large family. My mom has 10 children, 7 sons, and they have taught me how to defend myself. And I know that I would not let anyone, under no circumstances, to put their hands on me, because guess what? I am then forced to defend myself. Okay, so, but it is unfortunate that 2 young Black men, they could not, you know, talk the situation over. Why did it have to get to a certain extent? Now, I understand that if somebody puts their hand on you, you have the right to defend yourself. Okay? But we have to also take into consideration that the city has business to attend to. We're looking at, you know, there are investors that are looking at us. They're coming in here to spend their money. And here it is. We can't even run the city the right way. You know, we're constant. The city is constantly in the news. I am sick and tired of hearing that. And here it is. I love Riviera Beach, and I love the people of Riviera Beach. I've been coming to these meetings since 2012. And it's really ridiculous because I am a business person. I've always been a business person. You know, I am ready to build my restaurant on the marina, pad site number 2, okay, for the city to hear. So we're going to have a place where, you know, we can congregate and have a good time. But it's ridiculous that we have to act like this. This is a Black city. Why don't we learn how to get together, how to live together, and how to do business? Now, I don't understand why the city doesn't have some sort of counseling set up, because you guys are policymakers, and I know that it's probably very difficult for you guys to make decisions sometimes, because I know, you know, I call the city, I call to talk to you guys, and I probably bug you too, but I'm sure the community does the same thing. So on a daily basis, you know, you guys get a lot of complaints, and it's a lot to deal with. And I understand that sometimes it's very difficult, but I think the city needs to somehow set up some type of group where when, people feel overwhelmed, that they can turn to that system. And Lanier, I apologize for what you have to go through, but, I don't really think that would be me because I'd be
Thank you
defending
for your
myself.
comments, Ms. Brooks.
Thank you.
Mrs. Mary Brown?
Miss Mary Brown, Rivera Beach, good evening. I am that resident that is in this paper here. And some of this is the cart before the horse. Miss Brown merely stated here the workshop to bring people into our city here that same day that this was held from 2 to 4. The presenters was up here talking, and they was dialoguing with the representatives that was there that night. And it was questions that was fielded out. And I made the comment, and I did not call Mr. Evans' name. I did not call Deidre Jacobs' name. I did not call any management. I literally referred to the board's responsibility that if anything was going on wrong, then you are his leaders. You 5 people govern the city manager, and he governs that administration. You govern the manager as well as the attorney. So anything that you all wanted to dialogue, then you get with Mr. Evans. Mr. McCoy assumed that I was praising Mr. Evans. It was 90 participants here, and that was a plus for we as a city. We have made headline news twice, front page. I believe in civility. I do not have this nonsense for my children or my grand. When I teach them and what is sent out, that's what Miss Brown expects. Yes, everyone deserves respect. You may be in fear, but you are that governing factor. You put rules and regulations in place. He says that he's a policy maker. Well, you all are policy makers as well. And if this behavior is unacceptable, because it is unacceptable, how does this make we as a city look? How does this make we as a city look? On Monday night, I was at an event with some very professional, distinguished individuals. And all they had to say was, get that place in order, Miss Brown, out there. But it takes each one of us to do that. I spoke about that. I was going into the bond issues, and I made a statement about the water, that we're going to get these things done. This infrastructure has not been done in this city for the past 1960 era. And every hot pocket in this city here, it's not your fault. It's not all of this board's fault. Rome was not built in a day. But we take those things there so that we can progress the development and how we move this city here.
Thank you for your comments, Ms.
So
Brown.
those are my comments.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
This was taken to another level. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, any additional comments?
That's the end of public comment, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Comments from Executive Director. Did you want to respond to any comments from the board, from the residents?
Yes, Mr. Chair, if I may. With regards to the remark concerning security, I want to make it clear that I never blamed staff. I communicated where the responsibility lies for the coordination of that effort. The acting clerk was not aware of that because there was an abrupt resignation in the clerk's office, and in the transition, which she's done an outstanding job, that was one of the things that we did not communicate that to her. So she's aware of that. There was a memorandum that was provided by law enforcement, and it is not that the clerk directs the police chief. The clerk enters the information into a system, and in that system, it notifies law enforcement about the need for those meetings. All our meetings are planned out, And when there are special meetings with a limited turnaround time and staff spins up to be able to do that, invariably, if there's not a communications with the clerk, that may be missed. And so the clerk is aware of that, and that issue has since been resolved, and I don't foresee that being an issue in the future. One of the things I would like to see if the board would indulge us for a brief moment, being that this is not the appropriate venue, there was some comments with regards to the utility special district and the notice that was provided. And I do have staff here from the utility district, and I would like to see if the board would indulge staff for maybe 2 minutes, because one of the things I think is very important is the preservation of the public record, and to make sure that the information communicated and articulated to the public is correct. There was no situation or circumstance, and you can hear from our water plant superintendent, whereby the water got into the potable water drinking supply. It was a situation where the well came back with a hit of E. coli and the well was shut down. There was never a situation or circumstance where the notice was to be provided to the public. The notice was to be provided to the health department. There was not a threat to the potable water supply. And we can have staff speak on greater specificities on that, but I think it's important for the preservation of the record concerning that particular matter. And then I know the mayor is looking to facilitate a town hall, and we are bringing in industry experts to speak to make sure that members of the public know that at no time was there a situation whereby the water supply and the health, safety, and the welfare of the public was ever compromised. And so, Mr. Chair, I would ask for your consideration for both the water plant superintendent as well as the executive director to make very brief comments concerning the topic.
And colleagues, I would ask that we entertain the comments from our director, because a lot of residents made the assumption that this issue and these concerns tonight are about water, and that's furthest from the truth. It had nothing to do about the water and the concerns of the water, but we've all had our one-on-ones with staff, but if the public can please hear from our executive director, if my colleagues can give him a few moments before we go into our next workshop. Thank you. Welcome, Director Lowe.
There we are. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The water plant manager, I'm afraid he literally just had to leave. He was here and he was going to be a part of this presentation. But let me just say that in our industry, the only thing we can work with is the truth. We take our responsibilities extremely seriously. At any one time within the district, I've got 14 licensed operators. We have to have an operator with a license present 24/7, 365, this year 366 days. We also have to have people with higher level licenses available at any time. Any one of us in the senior management can be called at any time of the day or night to handle any issue that they have concern with. We also have 6 or more at any one time licensed operators managing the distribution system. They have very specific responsibilities once the water leaves the plant to ensure that it does reach the customer in a good condition. We also have several engineers and a very professional compliance manager who we work with. Well 14 actually passed testing on July the 22nd. Generally speaking, we test every well once per month. We also have a series of distribution sample points which are pre-approved with the health department that are spread throughout the distribution system. And we have to sample each one of them once a month. And all those records go off to the health department, and they are always available on public record within what's called their Oculus system, where they store all that information for you. This well, as was stated by some, is prior to the treatment process. That very treatment process is designed to handle this situation. Because of the hit, they decided that the thing they should do immediately was to protect the supply to the plant and shut the well down. They did that, they did some work on the well, and when it's brought back into service, it is required to pass a minimum of 5 consecutive tests. This well passed 7 and came back into service and has been fine since. As was stated, our problem was that we failed to notify them of the problem. We have took immediate action because we felt that was the right thing to do. We have obviously changed our procedures to ensure that everybody is aware that the phone should be picked up and the health department should be contacted in those circumstances. If there is any doubt at any time with regards to what is happening with the water system, we would issue system-wide boil water orders. In fact, because of the ethical training we're all required to take, if at any one time one of us attempted to cover up the situation, anyone else in the department is perfectly entitled to immediately blow the whistle and ensure that the right thing is done. One question that came up was with regards to well number 17. I'd just like to ensure that everybody is aware that well has been shut down and will not be brought back into use. Compliance monitoring, therefore, goes on a regular basis. Over 80 samples a month are taken. We also have several other annual, biannual, etc. tests that we have to deal with. We are preparing to have a town hall meeting next week on the 8th in order to discuss this issue and to bring in outside people who can tell us their view on how we performed and what occurred at that time. I'd also say that there's been some questioning with regards to the water plant. Difficult to see at the moment because of the new wraps that have been put round, but they're actually out there in the last few days taking test drills to do soil sampling so that we can determine how to build the foundations of the plant itself. We intend to bring an update to the board in the February meeting on the 21st. The joint venture team will be presenting where we are. I think that concludes my comments.
Thank you for the comments, Director Lowe. Mr. Evans?
And Mr. Chair, just for clarity's sake, since 2019, since this board has been seated, there's been roughly about $33 million worth of expenditures associated with the improvements to the existing water treatment plant and the services that are currently being provided from the utility special district. And one would argue that this board has made the single most investments in the water treatment plant, even to the point where you were the board that facilitated the transition and the moving into a new water treatment plant, where you've allocated $18 million of monies that we received from the federal government for the purposes and exclusively purposes of building a new water treatment plant. And so at your meeting that you will hear in February, you will see that there's a substantial amount of work that's been going on with respect to the new water treatment plant. So, but for the purposes of the public record, I think it was important for us to ensure that folks know that there at no time was there a situation where the health, safety, and welfare of the public was compromised as a result of this particular matter. We do agree that there was notifications that we did not provide to the health department, but staff has put in the appropriate fail-safe and check measures to do that. And then our new compliance officer does have extensive experience working with the regulatory agencies and working for the regulatory agencies. So she has a significant bandwidth that will be helpful for the city moving forward.
Thank you for comments, sir. Comments from the city manager? Any additional comments?
No, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. City attorney?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
City council committee reports? Comments from the mayor and city council, starting with Councilman Botel. Councilwoman Lanier?
Yeah, I just wanted to be clear for the city manager and the city attorney to understand the request that we made this evening, that this is something that is a joint effort between the two divisions to be able to put this information together for the purpose of sending it to Tallahassee. And also, too, I think that people may be listening from home, and they asked me about the police reports. On 11/3/21, the police report case number is 21-07672. On 3/9/22, the police report is 22-1042. On June the 9th, 2022, the police report is 22-04046. And on 6/7, the police report is 22-01684. And that does not include the information that was sent to Human Resources and lodged as complaints through the police department. Thank you.
Councilwoman Miller Anderson.
I just wanted to just kind of, I know there were a few comments that were made. One of them were about the special meeting that occurred last week. Well, first of all, when there are special meetings, they're exactly that. Typically, special meetings are called and we're generally asked about whether or not we're able to attend. And so when special meetings are called at a very short time frame, because that's particular week, last week, Mr. Evans had actually asked us about having one of our workshops on that night. He had asked that maybe a couple of weeks before that. Many of us said that we were not going to be able to meet that night for that particular workshop. So it was kind of already known that some of us couldn't be there. So, but the special meeting was called that day. And what happens is, if everyone is not able to meet, when typically you try to find a day that works for everybody, especially if it's a day where you typically are not going to be meeting. And in my case, I already had an appointment. So, and that was known a couple of weeks before. So when you don't see people here at a special meeting, that is because there is some sort of conflict and it is a date that was not agreed upon with the group. Because you try to make sure everybody can come, but if it's an additional meeting outside of a regular meeting, it is not expected for you to cancel what you already had planned because it was known you couldn't be there. So I just wanted to clear that up in terms of people not, when people say, well, you know, certain council people weren't here, there's a reason why, because that was a special meeting and they didn't find out whether or not everyone could be here. So I just wanted to clear that up. Also about the, someone spoke about my position on the water when Ms. Ruth Jones, our former city manager, was here. I want, hopefully during that town hall meeting, is stated and compared to what happened back then. These are not the same two cases at all. I want to be clear. They are not the same. Mr. Evans and Mr. Lowe just explained what this situation was about. The situation back then was not communicated to us, the residents, and no one else. However, fines were being paid. So it was known, it just was not brought to the public and the council. So we have to be very clear when we're saying what I did back in 2016 or 15 or whatever it was, it's not the same. And I am still standing strong on making sure that we have safe drinking water. And like Mr. Evans just stated, and I asked for those figures because I know this board has put in way more money of an investment into making sure that our water is safe and drinkable. Whereas for 30, 40, 50 years, a lot of stuff was not done. So let's be clear, water is very top of my list, okay? That hasn't changed. So I just want to clear that up. And then the other thing, I know someone mentioned, they were talking about the topic of I'm pretty sure, you know, with safety, we're not going to do a presentation on the security system or what we have set up here. You're not going to find that at any place where they're going to explain to you about security. Their security is security for a reason. So there wouldn't be a presentation on how our security is set up. And I just want to be clear again that
you know, you can be passionate and you can be strong on points, but it's a fine line between being aggressive and hostile, and it's not the same. We all care about the water, so I do not want people to twist someone being upset because they couldn't communicate something, because as I said earlier, there have been a number of instances that have occurred, and it happened way before the water issue. So I think that is incorrect for people to say that people are upset and angry because of the water, because it didn't start last week. And my position is that it's escalating. That's why I'm talking about it right now, is because I do see it escalating. And I said on the record, we haven't had any issues, but I can't stand by and continue to watch it happen and get to the point where people are putting hands on each other. That's what I'm concerned about. And that is why I'm in favor of it, because it's gotten to be too big. Somebody's going to get hurt because everybody's not going to continue to walk away. So I want to be very clear as to why I'm putting it on record as to why I support it. It has nothing to, me and Mr. McCoy have a decent professional relationship. He is a funny guy. He's a smart guy, but that does not excuse the behavior. So I just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Melanson. Mayor?
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. So before we adjourn our meeting, because we still have a workshop, colleagues, I want to be clear. This has nothing to do with water. The mayor's having a workshop next week about water. We're going to have a town hall to discuss the concerns and sentiments that have been addressed by some residents. I don't want this to be a deflection. We've been having bond meetings to discuss $115 million that's on the ballot in March to give information to our residents. And the first meeting had 2 residents. The second meeting had 7. When you have issues that are literally affecting our community and impacting every concern of our residents, and we're showing up tonight for this situation, I'm really trying to understand how are we going to move our city forward. It was a great job packing the room out, and I'm not going to say who did it, but there's a lot of supporters for an issue or concern that's hearsay. Because my mayor said he was back there. So, you know, there's my side, there's his side, and there's the truth of what happened. And please believe y'all going to hear the truth of what happened. But tonight I wanted all of our residents to speak about the issue that was addressed by the resolution. And I want you to also speak about general public comment. I've always showed respect and made everyone feel comfortable. I never attempted to silence anyone that was perceived and portrayed in the last meeting. And not one time to my colleagues or to any residents have I tried to silence them. So all of a sudden to say that now I'm silencing my colleague, it doesn't seem very professional of what I've been doing. I've been fair and consistent. So all of a sudden to change my mindset and mentality because I'm trying to silence my colleague doesn't seem to make sense. Judgment, perception, and opinions of all the residents tonight have been insane because none of them were back there. None of them know what's happened. But I'm going to say it again, it's not about water, and enough is enough. I'm not going to allow for anyone or anything to discredit this city, including anybody that may be a bully, anybody that has shown constantly, somebody that I've considered a friend to disrespect the institution of this city, the progress that we're moving forward. I'm not going to tolerate it. So please, I voted on the item because I absolutely, unequivocally support my colleague's motion. Because I've seen the antics go on and on and on, and I'm tired. I'm going to stand strong on my morals because my wife, my daughter, and my family depend on it, and every single one of you residents. So please, I'm going to continue to lead by example. I didn't walk anyone down. I didn't chase anyone out the door. So whatever the narrative that's being portrayed, please understand. That's not what this is about. It's a deflection from the issues. Residents stay engaged, focused. But I thank my colleague for bringing this item because I absolutely support it because I will not continue to tolerate the foolishness. I've given it a pass way too long. So every single one of my residents, please continue to push forward with the city. We have amazing things that are happening. Please support and come to the bond meetings and discuss the concerns and the issues so you can be educated and make an informed decision. But packing out the room with the foolishness tonight didn't sway me. My convictions are very strong and I'm going to stand strong on them. So residents, if we don't have any additional business tonight, we will be starting our workshop in about 10 minutes. This meeting's adjourned.